Hey, Julie. Hi. How are you? Hello. Oh, lovely to see you here today.
And you too. How are you? Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and welcome back to everybody else as well. We've had a mad 13 minutes of technical shenanigans in the background, but I think we're actually live properly on Facebook now, which is super cool.
Excellent.
Yes, I'm learning a lot. How are you, Julie? How's your morning been?
Yeah, yes, yep. All good. I've got my new cast on yesterday, so I've got a nice pink cast. So yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep. All good. Been thinking about you. Been reading your book actually. Been reading about teaspoons. Yeah.
Teaspoons, yes, yeah. I did a little bit of a reading earlier on about throwing teaspoons into the water, and kind of these minor acts of rebellion that we do when we're a child, but that they have so much meaning later on in life. Yeah. Because I think that's kind of, there's a bit of a truth there. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as I was reading it, I actually started feeling fear for myself, just putting myself into that position, just thinking how things would have gone for myself had I done such a thing. And
Yes.
That was quite scary. Yeah.
Really? Oh, gosh. So I introduced you earlier on today as somebody who had been really significant, because you are somebody who really helps people find their voice, and not so much dare to speak as dare to sing, which is a whole other kind of level and upgrade, I feel. Can you just tell everybody a little bit more about that? So I'm just adjusting my light whilst you do that. But
yeah,
could you just tell me a little bit more about your story, so that people can see how, understand a little bit about you and how you've, your part in all of this, really, because it's a really important part.
Sure. So, well, I was one of these annoying little children who would, age 2, I would stop people in the street and make them listen to me sing, because singing was my thing. It had become my thing. And I felt fantastic when I sang. And of course, it never, until many years later, occurred to me that other people might not feel as fantastic by listening to me sing. But it just was this most incredible, the way that it made me feel elation, release, happiness, joy, connection, all of these things. And so singing was always something that I was going to do. I really wanted to be able to do that. And so I trained. I did a music degree. I had a diploma from Royal College of Music, and worked as a singer.
Yeah, wow.
As a singing teacher for a long time. You know, I've been teaching singing for over 35 years now. And really, what has recently happened for me is that I had noticed that whenever I was mentioning to people about my singing, so I trained as a hypnotherapist because I wanted to do, I was always fascinated by the psychology of performance and how we could work really hard on our vocal technique and then go on stage and it would all leave us, and we weren't able to show what was representative of us. And that was happening a lot for my students, and also sometimes for myself, and it was never, I could never figure out when that was going to be. So I learned these amazing hypnotherapy skills, and through that met a whole new part of society, people who were not singers, who were not involved in music, which was what my whole world was until that point. And these people, whenever I said I'm a singer, the vast majority of people said, I always wanted to sing, but someone told me usually someone wholly unqualified to do so, that I
Yes.
couldn't sing, that I was tone deaf, that I should shut up, that no one wanted to hear me, that I should mime in the choir when the choir sings, that I was too loud for the choir. You know, all of these kinds of things, which absolutely broke my heart, because I believe that singing is the purest expression of the voice. It's the way that we connect immediately with emotion. We use emotion to sing. You know, singing is a primal sound. Singing is primal. It's the thing that we do before we speak. And so realizing that there's this huge, I always thought people either wanted to sing or they didn't, and those who didn't want to sing didn't sing. But I didn't realize there was a huge group of people who really wanted to sing but stood on the sidelines because they've been discouraged. And so I'm all about encouraging and getting people back into singing, and singing for the sake of singing for joy, singing, enjoying singing. And I believe that everybody can sing, and that's my mission.
Yeah, and it's a really. I remember when I first heard you talking about it, and you know, when I first met you, I was already very much in my kind of, I want to write about difficult conversations. I want to write about the way that we are silenced, and the way that we yearn to speak. You know, we yearn to speak. We're told that we should speak. We're told, show up, be yourself, be your true, authentic self. We're told. But actually, the mechanics of how you do that, because we know stuff, but actually doing it can be so hard, or feel so hard, that we layer on another level of shame and self-doubt, because now we know we're meant to, but we still can't do it. And that becomes even worse. That's just a sign that I'm pretty rubbish and I should be able to do it and I can't do it. And so, you know, I listened to you, and we both got background in hypnotherapy. So I already knew you were a good person, because you understand that side of thinking and the mind. I mean, you're a good person because you're just lovely as well. And so I was really interested when you started talking about this. And you started sharing that you would actually go and kind of put your money where your mouth is, if you like, and teach people, take people on that journey. And I remember hearing about that and thinking, could I go on that journey? Surely she doesn't mean it. I mean, that's just a sales line, isn't it? Everybody can sing. You know, she's going to find out I'm tone deaf, because that's where my belief system took me. And I had a singing lesson that told me that I couldn't sing. So I was locked down and certain that I didn't sing. But I've always been very, very taken. I was raised, as you know, across the sea and on the land. But I used to go and spend time in Ireland with my family in Ireland. And in Ireland, people sing. You know, they'll go down. My Uncle Gerald is a great guitarist and singer, and so many other members of my family are too. But people weren't worrying about how well they were singing. They were singing as joy. They were singing as celebration. They were singing as part of a bunch of people who were humming and making a noise, because there's something joyful in the rhythm of making a noise. So daring to come and see you and said, so Julie, could it be me? You know, and being certain that you didn't mean it. And even after our first lesson, going home and saying, oh, well, she was just saying it, you know, she was just being nice. And then you saying, record yourself, put your ear mufflers on, record yourself, and then listen to that, and you'll find out, you know. It was so important, but it also, it kind of fed me into those final edits of the book very much, because it is daring to speak, daring to sing, and knowing that you can, if somebody just helps you, or if you just help yourself, you know. And it just feels like the most important cage we can get out of in our lives. Now, I just said my life. There's a slip, but it's in our lives as well, to get out of that cage that makes us think that we can't.
The people who stand on the sidelines, who desperately want to sing, but believe that they can't. that is the saddest thing in the world for me,
Right.
because what you've said about being an island, you know, I mean, that is how it used to be everywhere. Singing used as a tool to bring together community. And I know I've said this to you a lot, but that there was the day that the two towers went down in America. And the stories of people getting together close to that in New York on that day, standing in doorways and singing together, just spending time singing, so that their voices mingled, so that they created that connection, that community, that primal togetherness, that feeling of unity that was so needed at that time. And this, and another example that I talk about a lot is like in when I was watching The Crown. I don't know if you watched The Crown, and there was the scene where Prince Philip went to the funeral of all the people in Aberfan.
Yes.
And together the whole community sang Aberystwyth. And you could feel that was people coming together, supporting each other through song. Now, the thought of there being people standing on the sidelines who don't believe they can take part in that, who are not a part of that anymore, is absolutely tragic. Because, you know, the biggest secret about singing is that it does not matter how you sound.
No.
It doesn't matter. What matters is that you are there and you are doing it and you are enjoying being a part of that togetherness, that universal consciousness. You know, you are a part of it. And the minute that you listen to someone else telling you that you can't sing and stop singing, you are excluded yourself. You've become something detached. And that's really,
I think it is. And I think in my work as a therapist, but also my work as a breakup and divorce coach, one of the clearest things that you see people controlling the narrative, and that's controlling the stories that are being told. The story to say, well, I'm the good person and you're the bad person, or, you know, I've tried everything and you haven't done anything, or whichever story they take. And a lot of those stories of controlling the narrative are about being the voice that's heard, and about suppressing the other voice. So the other point of view, the other side won't be heard. And a lot of my work, because I think a lot of the silencing of voices for singing, and that happens in childhood. Oh, nobody wants to hear you singing like that, people will say. Why are you singing all the time? I remember one of my clients saying that she had been told, a mother had said, why are you always singing all the time? As if it was the biggest crime that a child could do. But so much of these, it's so easy to silence another person if you're determined enough to do it, because we kind of all stand at the edge of our own silence too. And I mean, that's why I'm not really thought about, I had so many titles for the book, but that Conversations at the Shoreline was because sometimes the land is silent, but the sea really isn't. And sometimes it's the other way around, but they both have noises that are associated with, and I really think of like the noise of being on land early in the morning is really different to the noise of being at sea in the early morning. And when you sing, if you're at sea, like, especially if you're by yourself in the boat, like nobody can hear you. You can, like, you know, it's the ultimate singing in the shower. You can do it. And so how we use our voices, when we use it, the way that we encourage other people to use their voices just makes such a big difference. And what I suppose I'm most interested about with you is, in one ways, we're coming from completely different places. Yeah. But what we're saying is so similar.
Yeah.
You know, which is we need to be able to use our voices, but also we need to look at those other people who are struggling to use their voices and saying, come along.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's my thing. Inviting, I'm always saying, let's invite everybody to the singing party. Come to the singing party. And I often tell the story of a lady who has been a long time client of mine now, who won me in a raffle, won a 30-minute lesson in a raffle. And when she came I said, what's your goal? What do you want? What would you like to do with your singing? If you could do anything, what would you do? And she said, I'd love to sing hymns confidently in church. And I thought, that is a really good goal. Absolutely. I said, right, let's go for it. We did work. She started singing. We did exercises. We sang. She wanted to sing hymns in church, so we sang a verse of a hymn, and I showed her how she might use her voice more effectively, which is basically what we do at that stage. And at the end of it, I was able to say to her, well, I think absolutely, I think you can do that. At which she burst into tears and said, and the words that she said, of these words that have stayed with me forever, and the words were, I thought singing was a party I wasn't invited to. And that's what I always remember. And she has gone off now that she's had this encouragement. She's been led by as we do, she now has joined many different choirs. She's gone singing all over the place. She sang next to me when we did the at Westminster Abbey, and she's one of the divas, just like you. She's going to be singing in the concert as a soloist for the first time in September. So that's the next chapter. But there's someone who had lost decades and decades where she could have been singing because someone else had told her that her voice wasn't worth listening to.
Which is just, it's funny. I will say, so last week, as you know, I was on the Vanessa show on Tuesday. I had a kind of magical Tuesday. I was just having a magical life at the moment. I was on the Vanessa show, and then I went to my son's graduation at the Royal Albert Hall. And the last time I went to the Royal Albert Hall, I went to see Gregory Porter, which was just brilliant. Yeah, it was like amazing. And I've been a few times to the Royal Albert Hall. But anyway, so I was there watching my son graduate from his master's. And it was just incredible to be there for an event like that, and really moving. And they did they played the national anthem, just a verse of it. And people weren't singing, but because we've been having our lessons, I knew I could sing that. And so I did, right? And I was probably the only person, and I was there, and I didn't sing it loudly, but what I knew in my bones was that I could do it. And I was there. I was looking at how I was standing, and my knees were slightly bent, and my shoulders were back, and I was breathing from below, and but I knew I could do it. And it really made me think. It made me think, like, it's a little somebody's belief, and then somebody just showing you a little technique, because it is about technique as well. It's lovely to just want to do it, but getting that bit of guidance, that little bit of, just a bit of instruction.
And it's a skill, isn't it? Singing is a skill, and that's how we learn. We wouldn't expect to be able to just get in a car and drive it without learning how to drive. No. We all have the capacity to be able to do it until someone shows us how to do it, or how to do it with singing the best way for our voice, so that we get our best sound. The difficulty is that people can be extremely judgmental, or maybe it's a careless comment or a joke, or people say things and they don't realize the deafening effect it can have on people. And saying somebody, people have told me I'm tone deaf. I know I'm not tone deaf because I know what tone deaf is. Most of the people who say you're tone deaf have no idea what tone deafness actually is. and it's just a lack of musical skill, really.
Yeah.
Once that's taught, then in the very vast majority of cases, 99 out of 100, you know, then it's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when we learn how to speak, we babble, you know, and as you've said, and it's so true, babies start with song. When we learn how to walk, we fall down. When we try and put food in our mouth when we're babies, we miss. Goes all over the place. First time we start using a fork or a spoon, it goes in our eye, quite a lot of it, and then we just shovel the food in with our hands. You know, when we watch children grow, we learn them miss, and then we watch them fail. And it is interesting to me, and I talk about silencing a lot in my book, that there are some things where we will teach patiently somebody how to do it. This is how you tie your shoelaces. Sit down on a step. That's where we all learn. Practice. It'd be like magic. You do the right things and it falls apart. You do the right things, it falls apart, and then one day you've tied it. Okay. And so there's an understanding that there's skills that you teach. But if we just take somebody who's trying to do something and we say, oh, look at you, you're rubbish.
Yeah.
Then that little bit of necessary failure or struggle or difficulty that then leads to the skill being acquired becomes interrupted. And I think when it comes to difficult conversations, I think it is a skill too. I think it's a skill that we can learn how to do, just like I think we can learn the skill of disagreeing with someone without arguing. We can learn the skill of de-escalating rather than just piling on shame and blame. That we can learn the skill of how to phrase what it is that we want to say in a way that allows us to speak it. And we can learn the skill of listening. And these are all skill sets. And what you're very good at doing, Julie, is you're talking about it like it's a skill. You're not talking it like, oh, it's just born with this natural ability. What you're saying is we've all been born with that natural ability, but you've still got to learn how to bloody well do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll have the natural ability, but you'll never actually learn how to do it. You'll still have the natural ability. You just haven't learned how to use it.
That's right. Yeah. And the freedom that comes with having that you already know, that comes with having that little bit of knowledge as to how to get the best sound, the freest sound, the biggest sound, the highest sound, you know, with ease is the most exciting thing, isn't it? I mean, there is something, of course, there is something about the primal joy that you get from releasing a really big sound. You know, it feels fabulous, doesn't it? The primal scream, it feels amazing to do that. Something that everybody has the capacity to do. And that's not about making a beautiful, exquisite sound. It is about using your body to create music, to create harmony, you know, within yourself.
Yeah. And then just being willing to be out there and recognize there will be some people who might still tell you that they don't want to hear you sing, but you know, there are noise cancelling headphones that they can use.
Absolutely are. I was doing about 20 years ago, I was doing a Marriage of Figaro as a fundraising concert for a local church, and the vicar at that time came in, and it was for his church. And he said, oh well, I won't be coming. And I said, oh okay, well, why would you not come? And he said, well, if you don't like strawberry ice cream, you don't like strawberry ice cream. But you know, and everybody is entitled to that. It's when people then say, I'm not coming because I don't like opera, because it's elitist, because it's this, because it sounds like that, and they haven't actually ever tried it. Then you know, that's a different conversation, isn't it? But frankly, if you don't like strawberry ice cream, you don't like strawberry ice cream. So okay.
Exactly. Oh, Julie, thank you so much for coming on today. I really do appreciate you coming on between lessons and sharing your thoughts. It's such an important message, and it's lovely working with you and learning how to use my voice better, but it's also lovely hearing your thoughts and what inspires you and moves you to do this. So thank you so much. Where can people find you if they want to find out a little bit more about what you do? Where are you?
Well, I'm very easy to find. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but my website is juliebale.com. And just before I go, we must have.
Oh, yes. Yes. I don't know how to do it, though. How do you do it?
How do
a screenshot? I don't know. I've never nobody.
I don't know. I actually don't know how you do a screenshot, but maybe we can do it afterwards on the.
We'll do it afterwards. I'll find it in the recording and I'll do it. But thank you so much, Julie.
Pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Good luck with the rest of the day. It's a fabulous book. I hope that everybody buys it, and I can't wait to finish reading the rest of it. So thank you, Eve. Have a wonderful day.
I will, and thank you so much, Julie. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you really soon.
Bye. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Wow. So it's just lovely there to spend a bit of time talking to Julie about song and voice, and, you know, sharing those feelings that come out when we talk and when we share our voices, really. And I am delighted now. I've got another guest coming. It's been honestly, it's been the funnest part of today, has been getting to talk to so many wonderful people. And I am delighted, really, truly delighted that I'm going to be inviting on Brenda Dempsey, who is my publisher. Brenda is, I was connected to her through a mutual friend, and who recommended me that if I wanted to publish a book, I should speak to Brenda. So I did, because I follow good advice, and it was good advice. So I'm just going to let Brenda in. I'm adding you to the stage, Brenda. Hey, how are you today? How are you doing?
Great. Congratulations. Absolutely, Eve. Can you believe this day is finally here?
No, I can't believe it, really. It's been, golly, I was trying to think, because I think it must have been October 2023, actually. I came to visit you and I had no idea what to expect, and you welcomed me into your home. And then I was feeling that we spent hours and hours and hours talking about all sorts of different things, getting to know each other, and you kind of patiently listened to my dreams and my mad plans and aspirations. And look at us now, it's launch day.
Love it. Love it. I'm so thrilled for you. Yeah.
It's so exciting.
I took a screenshot of your previous guest.
Oh, did you? Oh, thank you so much. I've literally got to learn my tech much better. Today's been one of those days.
Take a screenshot and hold up the book at the same time. I haven't mastered that yet myself.
So, Brenda, tell everybody a little bit about you and what you do, so they know who you are beyond being my amazing publisher.
Who am I? Well, I'm Brenda Dempsey. Been on this planet 60 plus years. So I think I've learned a thing or two. I used to teach for 20 years, special needs and English, which is brilliant grounding for being a publisher.
Definitely.
Yeah. But, you know, my job really, my purpose is to bring out the brilliance in other people, exactly as this book has brought out all of your brilliance, and there's so much more, and it's just going to get brighter and brighter and brighter, because it's about creating ripples of brilliance. And I thought about it, and sometimes I think it sounds a bit corny, but then I've had to embrace it, because that's what I did with children. You know, that's what I did when I was a child myself. So actually, when reflection's a great thing. I'm sure we can talk about reflecting, because you do a lot of that when you write a book. That reflection is one of the best skills you can ever learn. And I learned it as a a teacher. You know, I was a reflective practitioner, and that's what they were teaching at that in the 90s.
Yeah.
And so therefore, reflecting on everything brings you to a point where you've actually got to face it in the mirror, face your truth, and realize, yeah, I do bring out the brilliance in people. Yeah, I do make them feel better. Yeah, I do show them a reflection of themselves in the mirror, which is way bigger and brighter than they originally thought. So that's it. So I help people write books. But as you know, it's more than the book, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah, I think it really is, because it's. I think writing a book is just writing a book. I think I hadn't really realised that, especially writing a book. I think it must be the same for any book. I don't know. I've only just done this one, but you end up you've got to know what you want to say, because you're going to be telling it over more than just one sentence. And it does require you to really look at yourself and have those difficult conversations with yourself. And what I've really found, kind of working in my upbringing, because I did so many things by myself, because I had to be honest. But learning to kind of trust people around me, learning how to have people kind of encourage that reflective process to take place, because the reflection is what lets you go a little bit deeper, because otherwise you kind of see yourself, or you might write that first few lines or that synopsis, but the reflection process, that kind of publishing process, the thing that we've been able to do with this book is to kind of keep that reflection going and going backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards until it ends up kind of, it's like cooking a stew for a nice long time. It gets much richer, the kind of flavors come out. And I think that a lack of self-belief can often make us kind of, we just go to that top level. It would be like cooking a stew and not believing in the flavors that were possible out of the ingredients. So you just think, oh, I'll just eat it now, instead of saying, no, let it just wait, cook it a day early, let it cool down, heat it up, and you'll get that flavor so much better. That's why it always tastes better the next day,
Yeah. It's like homemade soup. It's like that. When you make homemade soup, the second day, yummy.
I know. So much better. And that's what I really learned, I think, going through this process with you and with your brilliant team, that you kind of think the first draft is going to be, oh, that's me, look, I've written it. But very well, there kind of came a point that last year where I almost just went, no, I'm just going to get rid of all of that and start again. I'm now going to put the stories in, put those things. And I honestly don't know if I'd have been able to do that if I hadn't had structure around me, because it was a bold move to just say, no, I don't want to write that, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, the thing about the writing process, no matter what book, whether it's a memoir, whether it's part memoir, part business, whatever, there's the soul searching, and we do that in the brand stage of what we do, with the golden thread. And the golden thread allows you to actually answer questions that have been buried in the subconscious mind for such a long time, which then allows you to reflect not on the memory, but what did you learn? And even like, remember when we were doing it and you were talking a lot about your childhood, and I know all that's in the book. And very challenging, very tough. And it takes time, and you have to sit back and rest sometimes before you go back. But then you can reflect on, well, what did I learn? You might learn that wasn't your responsibility. It wasn't your fault. So why should I be feeling, the sins of the parent or whoever, the guide or whoever? And that's what we do. We bring it into life. That you've done psychology and everything,
I think it's so interesting, because one of the reasons, one of the reasons for writing the book, and one of the real kind of big bits in the book is I talk about the magic 3, and I talk about this kind of clarify, communicate, and correct, which is to really clarify what it is that we want to say, communicate it, but then be willing, the correct part, which is the third part, which is the ability to go, no, that wasn't exactly what I mean, or I did mean that, but actually now that we've said it, I think I need to take that a bit deeper. So it's being willing to, a bit like what you're saying with that reflective process that you've spoken about, and that golden thread process, that willingness to go back and do it, have a look, have another look, enrich it. This is what I think. Well, actually, let me have a think. Now that I've said it, what I think I want to say is this. What did I learn from it? Because when we're communicating with each other and when we're sharing really complex stuff, we are, I think, when we're having a difficult conversation, we're putting ourselves in a learning space where we're trying to learn from each other. You're looking at it that way. I'm looking at it this way. We need to learn from each other so that we can understand your perspective and my perspective, because then we might disagree, but we'll have a much wider understanding of each other. And that's the glorious thing about friendship, is not agreeing. It's having a better understanding of who we are and who they are and who we are together.
Yeah, and it's all right to disagree. You know, we can't agree on everything. It'd be a bit boring. But it's that, as you say, it's that understanding. It's that, you know, it's that emotional intelligent aspect of, yeah, it's okay to have a different opinion, but I still like you as a person. But I don't like your opinion on, I don't know, the colour of bread.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it was a big thing that I've seen with some of the kind of big, I mean, you know, I was really busy during Brexit because people were disagreeing to such an extent that their families were falling apart. Marriages, sibling relationships, there was an awful lot of tension that went on within families. And real unhappiness. And often what I saw was a kind of, you know, trying to encourage people to go, you might not agree with the way that they voted, but it's important to understand why they voted or why they felt that way, because that's something that we need to know. If somebody else is unhappy or they're not seeing things the way we're seeing it, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's brothers and sisters, whether it's a difficult decision that we're having to make about getting divorced or breaking up, or a difficult decision actually to write a book that shares your own personal history, and you know that there might be other people who are going, well, I didn't see it that way, and saying, well, yeah, but I did see it that way, and I also see it this way, that I need to share what happened.
And that's a great point about when you write a book, you see things from different points of view. And I know myself when I, you know, first came on the scene once I got out of education, about my story. And my daughter was in her 30s, but I was mentioned that all I said was I was from an abusive relationship. I didn't go into any detail.
No.
Daughter was absolutely, she wasn't angry, but she was like, Mum, you can't let people know. And I thought, Joanna, this is my story, and I can't let people know. And let's talk about why you don't want to face that truth, you know. And I think you'll find this a lot with divorce and breakup and the difficult conversations. You can't silence the voice. And we talk about voice a lot. And I know in your last guest, you were talking about voice and being expressive. Well, that's why I'm a publisher. Not a publisher, but that's why I do what I do, because it's about the freedom of speech. It's about the freedom of using your voice in a way. Of course, you can't do it with compassion. You can't use your voice to hurt and maim other people. You can't. I don't believe in that. But I do believe we should be free to tell our truth from our perspective, what's true for us. And you will always find some people will think, well done, that's brilliant. Brave. And of course, it's courageous to tell your truth and share it with the world. But you won't heal until you can begin to do that. And then you can speak about it, not from a place of shame and guilt or a place of where you're sobbing, but from a place of empowerment where you've accepted it. And maybe there's been forgiveness involved as well. But you're ready to use it as a tool for the better. And I think your courageousness and everything that's in this book and the stories that you tell, you have owned your voice. And that those lessons that you talk about in here, is going to help so many people.
Yeah.
Conversations that are difficult for a reason. And we
Yeah.
need people like you, Eve, to share it. And what better way to share it than put it in a book? Because this book sells 24/7, 365 days a year. Once it's published, you know.
No, I completely agree. And I do encourage people to realize that these things are, you know, you're not trying to sell a copy of your book to every single person on the planet. What you're doing is you are offering something out into the world. And if people want to find it, they will. And if they stumble across it, or if somebody who finds it says to somebody else, you know what, that might help you. Because we all take in and receive information in different ways. And I mean, this is why I do, you know, this book is part memoir. I have poetry in it that I'm proud of. But it's also, I feel it's very much a business book, because in business, we are having complex and difficult conversations. As a business owner and an entrepreneur, just as you are, Brenda, we still have to have difficult conversations with our own family. We still have to manage our own sibling relationships. We still, if we have them, have to manage conversations with our parents. And we have to manage conversations with our friends, with our work colleagues, with our customers, with our clients, with our service providers. So these difficult conversations, like as an entrepreneur, as somebody who runs their own business, who doesn't work within an organization, although I do have a team, just as you have a team, these difficult conversations become even more important, don't they? How we structure them, because it can make or break your business. And your business is your life when you're an entrepreneur, isn't it? Would you say that that's true?
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I do that, you know, and we've had these conversations a lot. You know, it's about being authentic. So in my language, I call that being raw and real. Don't try and be somebody else. They're taken anyway. And there's no one better at being you than you. So just drop the mask, and because people can see through it. We fool ourselves that we think we're hiding things from people, but people who read energy and people who understand, you know, got that wisdom, you can't fool them, you know. And then, so as well as being authentic, and an extension of that is walking your talk, you know. And that means don't just, you know, there's too many people full of great ideas, but if you ask them, well, do you do it? How many actually say yes? And that comes down to integrity, you know. So in my business, I don't ask any of my authors or my team, or even in my life, I don't ask anyone to do anything that I've not had experience of, because then I can talk from experience, and that is truth, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's been I've felt this very, I mean, it's a choice. I think being honest is a choice. There are many times, sometimes we have to take the hard decision, and the hard decision is to be truthful. Sometimes the hard decision is to not say something and simply walk away and say, you know, this is not an argument I particularly want to be invited to, so I won't come to it. But all of this is about integrity. For me, is integrity isn't doing the right thing per se. Like, oh, I went through life being integrity. Integrity is something internal, which is being willing to look at your own self and speak according to your own, you know, taking the trouble to care to find out for yourself who you think you are, and being respectful of that, but also owning when you can improve, because we are born to fail and make mistakes and learn, and owning our need to improve. I think this is the other reason why difficult conversations are so important, because when I'm willing to sit down and have a difficult conversation with somebody who doesn't agree with me, I'm in that very precious learning space where I might learn something I need to know. I might discover something that I'd only ever seen it from this side, but they're going to show it to me from the other side. And seeing it from the other side is like is like getting my book and turning it over. Look, there's the back cover. There's another side to it. And then opening it and look, oh, there's an inside. Because a book, and this is why I literally love books. Books have got so many sides. And then they've got insides, and then each page has got a side. And although I love my Kindle and I love my audio versions, I love books because they're full of different sides. There's so many different perspectives in a book. I like that because I feel every page is a, you know, I do feel that way about books. I have to say that I'll be moving at some point, and my ideal spec will be not, although I would love a garden and it'd be lovely to have a parking space, and who wouldn't want a downstairs toilet? But for me, I'll be looking for bookshelves. I've just got so many books.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a bit like that now. I'm kind of visualizing, you know, a proper room that a bit broader than this. This is a garage conversion, my office. And it's surrounded by beautiful shelves. Everything's got to be beautiful. Beautiful shelves, beautiful books, a beautiful table, a beautiful chair. Everything's got to be something that makes you feel great. And you know, and that's the thing about, so tell me, how did you feel when you got the book and you held it in your hand for the first time?
Oh my goodness me. Well, it was really interesting actually, because it arrived in its lovely brown. The kind of traditional. I've seen you unpack so many, and I've seen other people who arrive, and I was kind of like, oh, that's my book. First of all, it felt really heavy. I was like, that's quite heavy. Yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm glad. That's good, because it is. I mean, I love the way that, you know, the way that it's been produced. I've had so many comments of people who've got copies who've said that is a pretty book. It's nice. And then when I opened it, I remember I kind of opened it, looked at it, and then I kind of had to put it down and look at it for a bit from a distance. And I had to kind of slowly make friends with actually having it really there, because I don't know, when an idea becomes tangible, you know, what I feel that I've done is, and I feel that everyone who writes a book has done, is they've taken thought, they've taken ideas, they've taken experience, and they've taken learning. And what they've done is they've made it into a tangible object. They've like created it out of nothing, but it is not out of nothing. It's out of something. And in creating it as a tangible object, it then becomes something that can be passed around, something that can have a history, something that will, you know, there'll be copies that turn up in Oxfam and Save the Children, and there'll be copies that turn up around the place, you know. And so what you've done is that you've taken, and that's the magic of publishing for me, that you're taking somebody's story, somebody's ideas, somebody's words, somebody's voice, somebody's feelings, somebody's fiction that they've made up, and then you make it into a real thing that's a real thing in the world. And, you know, I studied philosophy and I studied Bertrand Russell, and, you know, there, you know, anybody who studied philosophy will know that the big discussions about, is the table really a table? Is it really there? You know, is it, imagine a pink elephant. Is it really a pink elephant? Well, now it is there. It's there. It's here.
Is it really a book? No, it's more than that. You know, because it's impact. It's a 24/7. It's doing things you don't know about.
Exactly.
It's lives that you don't know about.
No, it's kind of glorious. And I haven't had a chance because I've been on the lives today, but I've had some lovely early readers who've been taking photos of the book all over the place, and I'll be sharing them later in Reels, because I realized that I actually need two of me to be live and also do all the other stuff. So I haven't done any posting.
You don't do one thing.
It'll all happen. So thank you so much for coming on today, Brenda.
You're welcome.
What nugget of advice would you share to somebody who wants also to go and make ripples along the shorelines of their lives? What kind of nugget of wisdom or advice or comment would you share to my listeners?
Well, in the famous words of a sports brand, just do it. Stop
Yeah.
thinking, take action. We talk about make it happen. Nothing happens with thought, with words, until you take action. And actually, and I suppose this is I'm going to say it, but hopefully you'll verify it, is that when we say we walk by your side, we hold your hand, we're the navigator and you are the driver, then you've nothing to fear because we've got a roadmap. We know how to do it. We know where the pit stops are. We know where to take risks. Look, for goodness sake, you broke your hand and all sorts of things happened on your journey. And life happens, and that's okay. But what that does is it makes the story of the book very interesting. So never discount the journey that you go on. And yes, there'll be tears, there'll be laughter, there'll be I'm not good enough, I'm not doing this anymore. We know all about those conversations. Sorry, my phone's going. Sorry. And just to know that it's all part of the journey, and that's why we call it an adventure. You don't go from A to B. You're looping. You're on the big wheel. You're on the roller coasters. You get the flat bit, and you think, "Oh, this is a breeze," and then look, there's a sinkhole.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true.
But when you've got a partner, you don't need to worry.
Yeah. No, that is it. It is really, really true. And it's, for me, it's just exciting, knowing that this is there out in the world. And I mean, I feel certain it's been much, much easier actually having someone there.
I hate to say I really need to run. I'm glad you're wrapping it up. But I've got a consignment of books being picked up to go to Dublin, and they're here to pick them up. And David's not in. So
right, okay, but listen, I'll let you go.
All day. And
thank you so much. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Brenda, Book Brilliance Publishing, Google her, you'll find her.
Brenda Dempsey, LinkedIn, I'm everywhere. I'm ubiquitous. This all authors need to be. Okay. I'm really sorry. I need to run. Bye.
You go do what publishers do, which is take books. Bye-bye. Wowza. Wow, wasn't that so interesting to talk to Brenda, talk to a publisher, and there she is. I know one of her other authors has also got her launch happening, and what a wonderful thing. So I don't know whether people are still out there, but I think people are still out there listening. So thank you so much if you are. I hope that you enjoyed that little chat with, wonderful chats actually with Julie and with Brenda. So one of the things that's happening today that I haven't really had very much a chance to really talk about, but you can see it scrolling on the bottom, is that I've got a little competition today, and I've got some lovely prizes. I've got prizes from people who have bought copies of the book today. If you've bought a copy on paperback version, or if you've bought a Kindle version, please do message me with evidence of having bought it. You can probably find my number, actually. Just go and have a look at my website at evestanway.co.uk and pop me a little message, pop me a WhatsApp, or leave me a voice note, or email me with a copy of the receipt. And at the end of the day, I'm going to be sharing some excellent prizes. And I'm also going to be sharing prizes for anybody, if anybody leaves a review, if they leave an Amazon review, or if they leave a Google review, please do drop me a line and send me a screenshot or something of it. And then I'm going to be putting that into the chat. Sorry, I won't be putting it into the chat. So I got distracted there by another person coming onto the stage, but I shall be announcing those later on today. So my plan is I'm going to speak to the lovely Catherine Grout now, who is a personal stylist and a friend of mine, who's been really helpful with me, giving me help and advice on my clothes, my wardrobe, and how I present myself kind of physically, which is really, really important part of growing in visibility. But then I shall be coming back on. Sorry, I'll be coming back on at 5 o'clock with a little update. I haven't really had a chance to look at how the book is doing or how book sales are. So I'm going to find out a little bit more about that and share any information on that. I'm still doing pretty well. I've definitely been in the top 10. And that's exactly where I want to be, actually. It does, although it's being out there, knowing that the book is getting out there, knowing that people are buying it and enjoying it is really, really important. And that the messaging is going out too. I'm ever so proud to say that I have actually already recorded the audio version of the book, and that will be coming out fairly soon. I don't have an exact date on that because it kind of emerges across the various distribution channels, but I probably will be having another launch event then. And one of the things I do want to talk about while I'm waiting for Catherine is in the back of Conversations at the Shoreline, I have a course. And this is a course specifically, it's a 6-module course, and it's a specific course on how to have a difficult conversation. Because what I thought was people will read the book and there is poetry, there's memoir, there's all sorts of things in the book. But a very, very key part of the book is really how do we tackle conversations? These are not conversations just around separation or divorce. These are conversations around sharing of bad news, even sharing stuff like, you know, one family that I worked with, for example, they were emigrating to a new country, and they needed to talk to their wider family about their choice and their decision to do that, and that they weren't doing it to abandon their family. They were doing it because they wanted these new opportunities. They wanted to explore a new part of the world by living in it. So they weren't kind of leaving their family behind. What they were doing was that they were just growing and following their dreams. And that was quite a hard conversation, because one of the things that when they were having that conversation is that they had to listen to the distress and the upset of the people who were being left behind. And the family that were moving also had a lot of their own pain and distress, because although they were moving because they wanted to, they were also very, very aware of what they were leaving behind and the fact they were going to miss out on those day-to-day interactions. So a difficult conversation can happen all over the place. It can happen when it can happen because you need to hand in your resignation at work. Perhaps you've been working at a place for a very, very long time and you feel that there's never a right time for you to leave, but you actually do need to leave because you want different opportunities or a different job. A difficult conversation can be letting your clients know that there's going to be a price increase, or dealing with a work colleague who perhaps is over talking you or not giving you time to speak or not recognizing your work. There are so many ways, you know, if you take some time to reflect, there are just so many difficult conversations that we have. We might have the difficult conversation of saying, I can't afford for us to go on holiday. Or as sadly happened to me, my beautiful dog, you can't quite see because of the way the screen is, but my beautiful dog Fenrir became very ill, and I had to explain to my family that he was not going to make it. And that was a very difficult conversation to have. So having a difficult conversation is not just around divorce and breakup. Although I work as a divorce and breakup coach, that is because that is a really important area of difficult conversations, but actually they happen all over the place. So the reason why I created the course in the back of the book was a 6-module course which explains in detail how to go about planning, setting up, holding, and dealing with the aftermath of a difficult conversation, really across any subject. So I will talk a little bit more about that later on when I come back on at 5 o'clock. And that course will be available probably from late July. I should have it out and available for. I thought I'm not going to rush and bring it out while I'm bringing out the book because it's just too many things to do all at the same time. But it will be coming out then, and we will be starting the waiting list on the website shortly for people who are interested in that if they want to hear a little bit more about it. But you can read about it towards the end of the book. So if anybody does, if they're interested in that, please feel free to get in touch. Also, within the book, we have we've also got resources which will be going up. They will finalize getting all those up live on the website, probably on about Thursday or Friday this week. Again, so much to do because of the launch, but they'll be coming out then. And that's some case studies and some more in-depth information about having difficult conversations, which I hadn't included in the book. There were a lot of this is stuff I'd taken out of the book when I was going through the editing process, but I thought it would still be useful to share. So you'll be able to have a look at that by going to my website, evestanway.co.uk/shorelines. And when that's available, you'll be able to enter some details and be able to download some additional resources, which I hope to populate and enrich as time goes on. So I'm going to see whether Catherine is available. And as I said, Catherine is an absolutely brilliant stylist and has been really instrumental in helping me get my look right, which you can't really see very much at the moment because I'm on a little bit of a screen, but for people who see me on stage going forwards across the rest of the year as I tour with my book, they'll see a lot of Catherine's work. So let's see. Hi, Catherine.
Hello.
Hello. I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you too. Do you know how to turn on the camera on this? Because at my end, it looks like it's on. That's off, and this is on. But you can't see, can you?
Are you dialing in from your phone or from your
I'm on an iPad?
From your iPad. Have you got any other screens open that it thinks are open? Sometimes that can be. Or you can have the camera is not, if you go to your camera setting on the iPad.
And maybe that's what it is. Do you want me to sort that out? Or can you just cope with hearing my voice? I can put the camera off and you can just see my photo. Will that do?
Yay, let's see your photo. Are you all right to do that? Because it would be lovely to talk to you. So, Catherine, welcome. And I look forward to seeing you when we see you. So first, before we start, because I've introduced you a bit, but describe yourself. Tell me a little bit more. Tell everybody who's listening a little bit more about what you do, Catherine.
Sure, yeah. So I live in East London. I've lived here for many years now in all different parts of London. I'm currently a personal stylist and colour analyst, but I've had a very long career in other areas. So I work for 20 odd years as a leader in the sort of the tech innovation space. But I had a lot happen just before lockdown and during lockdown, as I know many people did. And at that point, I really needed to reinvent myself and my career and do something new. And I'd always loved fashion, so I retrained as a stylist. And a lot of that was about bringing the joy in fashion that I have and also the knowledge and expertise that I have from all the varied things I've done in my career to my clients. I particularly enjoy working with people who are going through life transitions, and a lot of my clients are in that position.
And that's and it's a very important, isn't it? It's a very, very important, very sensitive time of people's lives. So I'm going to say, I mean, you've had a long career in business and, you know, as an entrepreneur in your own business. But I think you, and I know that when we work together, you know, I know that you also really do work in this space of difficult conversations, don't you?
Yeah.
And I imagine a lot of your conversations that you have with people are challenging their own, sometimes quite negative perception of themselves or their physical appearance or the way they dress. Because what was so impressive when I worked with you is you didn't come in with an armload of new clothes and said, oh, Eve, what you need to do is wear all of this. You took my clothes and showed me how to wear them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, that's a really important part right there, particularly given that these days we want to move towards more sustainability, less
Mm.
fast, actually making use of the things that we have. You're absolutely right about the difficult conversations.
Mm.
It is rare that I encounter someone who does not have concerns about their body and their image in some respect.
Yeah.
This applies to men and women, but it can apply a little more to women in that you probably have heard a number of difficult and negative things said to you in your life by men, women, all sorts of people about your body and about certain aspects of your appearance. And what happens is we tend to inherit all of that information. We tend to internalize it. So when we go shopping, or when we look for clothing, or when we look at ourselves in the mirror, we have someone else's narrative playing along in our head. So my job is very much to challenge that and to say, actually, you know, you are where you are in your life now. You may be starting a new chapter. You may have had some difficult things happening in your past, but now is the opportunity to actually step into, you know, yourself as far as you can, you know, to be that person. And if you love, for example, looking like a rock chick, or you want to look really, or you want to look bohemian, or you want to look, you know, a real catwalk drama person, that is absolutely as a human being, you know, whether you're male or female. And so it's about making people realize, A, they can have it, they can have what they want, look how they want within reason. And I have the tools for them to make that happen. So that's it's about that transformation, and it's about recognizing, you can own it, you know, and you can wear it, and it's all going to be good. And I'll help you with the skills that you need to have to get to that place.
Definitely. And you know, it is hard really, because you're right, we do internalize those comments, and I see it with people, actually, you know, when you and I together and we're talking, you know, so if we're at business or in networking and stuff like that, you can almost see people when they're talking, they're discounting that it would work for them. It's a bit like when I was talking to Julie earlier about the singing, that it's almost like people have taken themselves out of the, oh, well, that's not for me. It's not for me to dress that way, or it's not for me to look that way. But actually, I'm sure that when you go and do wardrobe edits and you go and see people, you'll see the clothes that they dream that they could wear in their own wardrobes already. Because people do go, don't they? I know I certainly did. You know, I'll go and buy the stuff, but then never wear it. Because absolutely. I wanted it. You must see that a lot. Is that?
I do. I see that a lot. And I also see that at networking. You're absolutely right. There was a meeting I was at today, and you know, I could see someone almost visibly retreating at the idea that they may possibly not wear black all the time. Like, oh, don't make me look at, or people feeling that when I come and see their wardrobes and I go through them, that I'll actually be judging as well. People assume that styling is about judgment. It's far from it. It's about me looking for the gems in the wardrobe and saying, actually, look, you've got all these wonderful things. You can put them together in this way. But you also have quite a few things that are tired, that may have served you well in your life, but you now put to one side, you know. And I think there can also be of understandable attachment and emotional baggage associated with clothing, and sometimes it's not good for us, and we need to be kind and say, okay, this has a memory and it's important to me, so I'll have a little box, call it my archive, and I'll put it in there, but I won't have logging up my wardrobe and reminding me of days past and maybe sizes past, for example. That's very thing for women. They have the things that they're going to slim into, and there's nothing wrong with being, you know, healthy, you know, and all that. But it shouldn't be about trying to conform to a certain idea of yourself, which may be, you know, part of your previous, you know, time in your life.
No, I agree with that, and I think and that in itself is also a, you know, it's a really common thing. I used to do when I did more hypnotherapy work, I did more kind of weight management work, and so much of that work was encouraging people to feel comfortable the way that they are. And I know that there are health issues, as you say, and there are reasons why, you know, people's knees and backs and stuff and health can suffer as a consequence of weight. But actually, people can suffer just as much from being overly thin. And there is a pleasing shape. That's certainly what I understood when I worked with you, of becoming pleased with my shape. And I've often thought this, we've got these amazing bodies, that can do so much, but we spend so much time critiquing and criticizing and complaining instead of just being grateful for the health and the strength that we do have.
And I do that. I would love to be able to instill in more people, I think, because I feel that way about myself. I actually feel really quite lucky that I've got to the age that I have, and I'm relatively healthy, and most things do what I need them to do. I mean, not everything. We'll have aches and pains and this and that.
Of course.
But essentially, we're walking, we're talking, we're doing, we're living our life. I think there should be an element of gratitude, and we probably never had the atypical perfect body anyway. We had a different body when we were young. We have a different, and of course, it's not going to conform to any crazy idea of perfection. But I was thinking about this earlier. Someone actually said to me, all women hanker back, don't they, to have the figure that they had in their 20s? Saying, actually, I kind of don't, because that would be sad, because you wouldn't be able to have children,
Yeah. I completely agree with that. And I think, but that is it's another example of a difficult conversation, because I think it's something really interesting that happens in arguments. So a lot of the work that I do is about people having arguments when it comes down to it. They're having arguments because their relationship is difficult. And what you see when people are having arguments is that when people are beginning to lose an argument, or they're beginning to feel unsure of their grounding in an argument, they will often make a shaming, blaming, or criticizing comment. And shaming, blaming, and criticizing are usually around stuff that we can't necessarily control. And it will be, sometimes it's around the way we sound, the tone of our voice, the way we look, the expression on our face. Sometimes it can be about our weight. Sometimes it can be a bit about how we dress, our hair. Some of these shaming and blaming comments can be quite, they're personal in a different way. And they're used as a form of making the other person kind of back down. And I think the only real antidote to that is doing the work to become comfortable with yourself and how you are, so that when somebody does say, oh, well, I can't believe that you're doing that you can say, no, fair enough. That's your opinion. You can't believe I'm doing that. Of course, I can believe I'm doing that, because this is what I've chosen to do. And this is what I believe is right for me. But that self-belief and that self-confidence, that ability to know your own voice and your own truth, which is so much kind of what all these chats are about today, is an essential part of actually not being put off when somebody makes a comment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's so hard, because a lot of these things, as you were saying before, they internalize hurt, often from childhood or teenage years. I mean, I'll give a really good example of this. So I remember when I was at school, and the girl said to me, oh, you've got really chunky legs, haven't you? And I'd never thought that about my legs before. But after that, I became aware of the fact that I had chunky legs, in inverted commas, and my legs are not my smallest part. But actually, I don't think they're, and I'm quite happy with them most of the time. So how once those things are there, they're really hard to shift. But now
it's so true.
Almost I have that little bit of what's the word? Actually, it's my time. I'm owning my life, because one thing I think is really about styling is that, so for example, if someone's buying a house and they want to make improvements, they don't just go and do that themselves. Well, I guess some very clever people do, but most people will employ a painter, decorator, architect, maybe and they'll invest all that money in turning that house, which maybe was a bit of a wreck, into something really amazing. But when it comes to ourselves, we somehow believe there's nothing that can be done. We've got to a certain stage of our life, and that's it. We are the thing, and there's no point in trying to change anything about ourselves and make those investments, but with someone who's got professional skills to make us feel good and to show us what some of the are. And it's very ironic, I think, because people in midlife will put a huge amount of time into a project around a house or something else. Will consider the importance of investing that time and effort and energy into themselves and how they look and feel.
I mean, it is just so true what you're saying there. Because I see that as well within my work. Let's put some time and effort. Let's invest some time and effort into how to have a difficult conversation, rather than assuming that there's just no point in having that difficult conversation because it won't make a difference anyway. And that being able to go, well, let's put some time and effort in it. Let's spend 45 minutes or an hour considering what we can change about what's happening here.
That's
and people
so
will often, sorry, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's so true, Eve. And I do see that a lot, and I experience it myself. And I've been working with my daughter a little bit, and she's been trying to have some difficult conversations with her boyfriend about how they communicate with each other. And what I noticed was that she gets incredibly frustrated if it's not resolved the very first time.
Yeah.
But my encouragement is to her, and it's partly actually influenced by some of the advice that you've given in your book, that you can't just assume it's a one and done. You have to perhaps return to these difficult topics a number of times, and then be able to achieve your breakthrough that way. And it can be a little bit of a slow and frustrating process, but it's worth it.
I think it really is. I think if we imagine every and this kind of coaching tool, but if we imagine that everybody's got a map of their world, we're not going to know and understand somebody else's map of the world on one visit. One brief, I had a look at France, I've seen it now. That's not how you go and visit France, or visit the UK or visit somewhere. You go and you spend some time and you go back again and again and again. And so creating safe conversational zones and saying, right, if I need to tell my partner how I'm feeling, well, the first time I tell them, I'm probably going to get it wrong. They're probably going to be defensive. I'm going to feel very overwhelmed. So it probably won't land very well. So I need to have that first one. Then I'm going to need to say, can we carry on having these conversations? Because over time, you get a better and better understanding of what each other's thinking and feeling and what's important to them, what matters to them, how they're perceiving stuff, where they're feeling anxious, where they're feeling scared, where they're feeling like they're failing and stuff like that. And if you spend that time deepening that interaction backwards and forwards by having these conversations, you genuinely strengthen the relationship, just as you would strengthen your relationship with another country if you went back to visit it many, many times over. And so what happens is, because there is I think that there's just a lack of information about how to have difficult conversations. It's a skill set, just like there's a lack of information genuinely about how to shop and how to pick clothes that suit you. I mean, there's no information about it unless you were lucky enough to have a mum who just happened to know. I didn't go shopping with my parents ever as a child, so I've got no idea. So you don't develop those skills, and it is a skill set. And in order to develop a skill of talking to your partner, whoever your boyfriend or girlfriend is, or your partner is, we develop that skill by having the conversations. We don't have that skill, do the conversation, right, that's over, now I'm leaving. That's not how you do it. And it's not how you do anything. I mean, it's not how you drive a car. Yep, I got in my car, I had a lesson, and then off I went. No. My laptop, my phone. Go on.
That's absolutely right. I mean, there's many areas of life, aren't there, in which we kind of enter the world a little bit ill-equipped. Definitely shopping, styling, dressing to suit yourself, what colour suit you, all that lot is one of them. Another one's probably around, for example, financial management. That's something that as adults comes as a bit of a shock to many of us. And there are all these skills, aren't there, for life that we do need. And, it's not always obvious where we can get them. So
I know. I mean, that's a really good example. And it's funny because in a lot of relationships that break down, money is often at the root, it is often at the root, a lack of understanding. Unless you grew up in a family where the mother and father knew how to talk about, how to manage, how to discuss, how to make money work for them, how to spend and how to budget, most people don't know how to do it. And I see it in relationships a lot where one person kind of earns more, the other person earns less, one person has more idea, one person has less. And then you get this disparity. And that, I think, can lead into people's shopping habits, actually, because then people either buy loads of stuff that they don't need because they don't really know what to do with it, but they want to spend money, or they won't buy anything at all. And they could really do with buying something new. So there's all these layers, aren't there, Catherine?
Yeah, there absolutely are. And I think finances and financial decisions within households can, as you say, be incredibly tense. And they also do relate to perceptions of things like value. So, for example, suppose one partner is buying a hell of a lot of clothing and things for themselves, and the other isn't. That can cause resentment to build up because there may be a perception that needs to really tighten its belt. So a lot of these things are very much tied up with finances and how we perceive things, and also what we believe is important to us. You know, do we want to be the best dressed couple out there, or do we want to kind of just, you know, exist with our wardrobes forever, or are we outdoorsy types, or who are we, you know, as a couple? And that sort of clothing and identity and, you know, choice is very much part of it, I think.
I think it is, and I think it's and daring, just daring to try something new, but then having a little bit of help so that when you do try something new, there's somebody who can say, look, why don't you try this? But they're going to create that safe space. And that's something I've kind of been talking about a lot today. It's about it being safe, actually. This isn't about just recklessly going out. This is about getting a safe pair of hands so that if you do want to make changes, you do want to go into your wardrobe, you can do it safely. And it really does matter. So, Catherine, I really appreciate you coming on today and talking a bit more about this. I mean, we all wear clothes. We hope we all wear clothes, Catherine.
We do.
You know, knowing how to dress, knowing how to style ourselves, especially as a business person, is massively important. If anybody wants to get in touch with you from our chat today, Catherine, what's the best way for them to come and find you?
So my website is whatiamwearing.com. So hopefully that's relatively memorable, whatimwearing.com. And on there, there's all my contact details, plus there's a form in there you can fill in to book a free consultation. So
perfect.
I love talking about all of these topics. I really do. It makes me happy. So, you know, I'm very happy to offer, you know, that free consultation to people so they can get a sense of what I can do and where they might be able to go forward. So
thank you. And I think it is, I do encourage people to take a look because you've got loads of tips as well on your website, haven't you? You've got loads of really useful resources. You know, I encourage people to start having that difficult conversation with themselves. For me personally, working with you has been really good because now that I am called upon to do more stuff in a much shorter time frame, you know, I can get a call saying, you know, like when I was on Vanessa last week, it was, you know, I got that call in the morning and then I was getting ready for it by lunchtime. Having a better idea of what to wear and how to wear and what I could put on, actually having the clothes there, which I've now got on my clothing rail that I now have since you came and did the edit with me. I've got those clothes there. They're ready. I'm more likely to get them dry cleaned and have them in their dry cleaner bag so that if I need to wear something, I've got it there really handy. And these are all tips and stuff that, you know, as a businesswoman who knows I've got meetings, I'm now not worrying about what I wear. And I did used to. And what happens is you worry about what you're going to wear so much, and then you just default back to the same black outfit that you've got because that's your safe. And I don't need to do that now. I don't think I've worn black really since we met, Catherine.
There's a place for black. There is a place, but
there is.
Like you're saying, Eve, this is such a practical thing to do for yourself because you know most of us don't have hours in the morning. Most of us have 10 minutes. You know? And it makes that whole process of, you know, putting something together so much easier. If we know what's there, suits us, flatters us, makes us happy, you know, and will work for our lifestyle. So, you know, if we can have, you know, then that's just cutting out one less step in that whole kind of set of things that we need to do to step out there and feel good. So
Yeah, definitely. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. Do me a favor, do go to Facebook and put your details in the chat as well, because I haven't got two of me today, so I haven't really picked up on any of the Facebook stuff. So, but I think we've been on Facebook anyway. So do pop your details in the chat. Thank you so much for coming on today.
It was a real pleasure. Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, no, it's been really good to talk to you, and really a really important conversation to have. And have a great day, and I'll see you really soon.
Yeah. Cheers, Eve. Bye.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, wasn't that wonderful? That was just so good to speak to the brilliant Catherine Grout and find out a little bit more about what she does. And, you know, you might think, well, what's difficult conversations? You know, what's that got to, what's that got to do with anything? But it really does have so much to do with stuff, because sometimes it's having that conversation and saying, look, in order for me to get to where I want to go, I'm going to need a little bit of help with what I'm wearing, or what I'm saying, or how I'm saying it, or where I'm saying it, or what I need to say. And that's what all of these conversations today are really about. I'm just going to send a little message now to Brenda, my publisher, to find out if she knows anything where we're at on the rankings at the moment, to find out how the book is getting on, because of course, because I'm here doing this, I'm not doing that, so I don't know. So if I get an update from her, I will let you know. Hopefully she'll get back to me, and that will be really amazing to find that out, because I'd love to know. So very shortly, I'm going to be speaking to yet another really key person in this journey, the wonderful Anna Herber. And Anna has been a really massive source of help and support, because she helped me a lot with the alignment of my messaging and the way that I was speaking across LinkedIn in particular, but also the way that I've been speaking in other areas, to see, to find out, how I present myself when I'm in that public space, and particularly in that kind of business professional space, which LinkedIn is. Facebook is a really good space, but each of these social media spaces are a space, and we want to find out, how we present ourselves, how we talk in those spaces, because that is a really important aspect of daring to speak. How do we do it? When do we do it? I'm just going to see, I've got a few lovely messages coming in. I've had some really, wonderful support from my whole team, actually. I'm just going to find out if I can find out what the Amazon rankings are. We've got Anna's just sent me a lovely message, says she's almost here. So I can't wait to speak with her. So before I do chat with Anna, I was talking a little bit before I spoke with Catherine about the course in the back of the book. So this course is about how to have difficult conversations. I do have another course, which is a course on, I've just found out I'm number 5 in bestsellers at the moment. How wonderful that is. So another course that I have is on navigating with heart, which is specifically how we have difficult conversations with children, kind of partially around divorce and breakup, but actually, as I've been teaching this course over the last 3 or 4 months, what I've realized is the course is really how we have any difficult conversation with children, and how we stay really calm while we're having it. And whether or not you're going through divorce or breakup, we're always going to be having complex and difficult conversations with children, because there's so many things that happen in our lives that impact on our children. So I'm going to talk a little bit more later about that. But right now, I am going to introduce the lovely Anna Herber. Hey, Anna.
Hello. Eve. I'm good. How are you?
What is that you've got there?
Microphone.
Wow, that is a proper good microphone. That's really, really, really good. I can hear you very clearly on it, so it works. So how are you today?
I'm really well, thank you, and congratulations on your launch. Thanks. Very exciting day.
Yeah, it is. I've just heard I'm number 5 on the bestsellers in positive psychology, so that's really lovely. And one of my beta readers, Jill, has sent me a beautiful bunch of flowers that I can see. And when I jump off after you and have a little break, I have a feeling that the doorbell rang, and I have a feeling that there's something else waiting out there for me, but I don't know what it is, and I don't want to go until then. So it's been a really, really exciting and magical day. And it's just been amazing just to talk to so many people. So, well, let's talk. So, Anna, explain a little bit to everybody about what it is that you do. And then we'll talk a little bit about the ways that we've worked together.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a really great day, Eve, like thinking about how much has happened since we first met and started working together. And, you know, this entire book and the way your mission is evolving now is so incredible. So my name is Anna Herber. I am an alignment guide, writer, poet, and speaker. I help entrepreneurs and people with a vision clarify exactly what that vision is and what they need to do in their creative process to step into that identity and actually make it happen.
Yeah.
And I work with people on their messaging. I work with people on their creative process, and increasingly on how are you managing yourself in your life, you know, your self-care rituals, your routines, your inspiration, your relationships, getting that full picture so your mission can thrive within all of that. So that's where my work is heading these days.
Yeah, and I think that's I mean, gosh, I think we must have spoken, it must have been about August or September 2023. I think it was something like that we started, and I was very much at the beginning of this big leap forwards, and I had no real idea what my messaging was. I had no idea what my alignment, I didn't really know that they were things, to be honest. So you were very instrumental in explaining that to me, and kind of showing me how really to get that message out at the time. And I think since then, I didn't really understand it then, but where I'm at the moment with the business and with the launch coming out and with the, you know, the work that I'm doing, the coaching work, looking after myself in that process and kind of keeping in touch with myself, it's very, very easy to lose that, isn't it?
We have to invest such a large amount of energy to create something new, you know, to create a new identity, to create a new career path, to write a book and promote it and get out there and, you know, work with your clients at the same time and go and do speaking engagements and all of the things, many things we need to do. It's such a big investment of energy. That energy's got to come from somewhere. And I think that it's a process of reprioritization, you know, like when we make a move like this, like what needs to go that's not necessary, and what support is needed so we have more energy, and then finding the message, like, why does this matter? We get energy from that source, from anchoring into the motivation and the why. And that was such a big part about working with you. It was so fascinating, like spending so many hours going through your ideas and your stories and your amazing analogies and metaphors that are famous amongst your clients.
I know.
Experience when they read the book.
Yes, it is true. It is true. I don't know. You can always tell what I've been doing by what my metaphors are. Like if I'm hungry, they'll definitely be food related. Definitely, I'm sure that's what I was talking to Brenda about, kind of stews, flavorful stews and soups. Definitely, I need my lunch. It's a bit late today. But I think you're right. I think people underestimate actually with coaching and with those kinds of and writing and creative. I mean, I feel it uses up calories. You know, I feel, I know I get hungry a lot after sessions. and thirsty because I'm using, even though I'm sitting still, like I've been sitting here for so much time, I'm using a lot of energy. And that energy has to come from somewhere, doesn't it? And we need to be thinking, don't we, about where is that energy coming from that's going to keep us going? Because I think otherwise, and I think in difficult conversations, what happens is we need energy to go to a difficult conversation, don't we? We need fuel to have it, because if we're tired or we're just at the end, I mean, what happens? It doesn't work, does it?
And with the link between difficult conversations and creativity, they can be instrumental in creating the space for your creativity, setting boundaries with people. So you literally have the protected time in your day to do the most important things, and to make sure that you are saving your energy for this, for the things that really matter to you. And I've been really lucky to receive some guidance from you at a very pivotal time in my journey, to make sure I'm having difficult conversations and protecting my work. That was really instrumental in me making it through a hurdle that I needed to get through this year.
And that goes to a really important point, doesn't it, Anna? Because I know certainly I think any kind of work like the work you do and the work I do, it's not one-way work. It is two-way. Like I have learned. I mean, I recognize my clients in my book very much in my acknowledgements, and honoring them, because when I'm working with people, it's not like, oh, I get so much from working with people, but I learn that process of interaction, that process of sharing, does create that communication is just always two-way, isn't it? And it's really important to understand that, because I don't know about you when you kind of meet your clients, but sometimes my clients are kind of like, it's almost like they sometimes at the beginning feel like they're imposing on me, with their thoughts or their feelings or their pain or their wondering or their questions, and they're not. They're offering me something really important and really precious, so that then it can become like a collaboration. And it is a collaborative process, isn't it? Because it has to be, I think.
100%. Yeah, I actually gave an old client a free session today, and I reflected on the end of it, just how much I gained from doing that, and it gained the opportunity to try some of my more innovative ideas and clarify processes that I'll be turning into something that I offer others, and yet being attuned to what people need from you and what they're telling you. Yet we're all here to exchange with each other. Ultimately, we're here to exchange and coexist and create together. And with good communication skills, there's so much opportunity that opens up. I've got a great example from my sales process today, actually. So I had someone approach me about working with me, but then there was some projection going on. I think something in him got a little bit triggered, and he was messaging me a lot over the weekend. I didn't respond because that's where my boundaries are at. And then, but by gently stating my boundary on Monday morning and redirecting, I think this person is getting clarity on what actually might help them. And I haven't taken that on as a negative in my discovery call process, in my sales process. These skills really go a long way to like getting in the slipstream of human relationships, rather than in a constant state of like freeze and having to run away.
No, I that's, it's really important, and it's important. I think it's important to share this stuff, Anna. I think as coaches and as people who work with other people who are perhaps in moments of uncertainty and stress, being able to come on and talk about these things is really, really important. Because I know I certainly was for many, many years. I mean, I took the longest amount of time to learn that as a professional who works with other people. And I've been a psychotherapist for a long time, and I have supervision, have very regular supervision with my lovely supervisor. But I hadn't realized that that you could kind of share these thoughts and ideas with your professional colleagues and your professional peers, and that you could get help and that you could share. I just hadn't really realized that. I think I spent and the longest time before I became a coach thinking to some extent that it actually was one way. And I don't think it is. But I used to think it was. But it's not, is it? And that's what I really feel about difficult conversations. I will often see people and they'll come to me and they'll say, I need to have a really difficult conversation with somebody about X, Y, and Z because they're being a complete whatever. And I'm like, oh, right, you want to have a conversation. That means there's going to be two people in it. You're not just going to be venting at space. You're going to be saying what you think and feel to another person. And they are going to think and feel stuff as a consequence of that communication. What are you going to do about that then? Are you going to be willing to listen? If they just try and shut you down and tell you to get lost, which you must have within your work. You know, we all have clients who say, oh, no, it's too expensive. I don't want to do that. Why are you doing that? There's no point in it. Why do you need that? I definitely had a lot of that at the beginning as a divorce and breakup coach. Like, well, that's just, you shouldn't be preying on people at the difficult time in their lives. It's like, I'm not preying on them. I'm trying to help them at the difficult time in their lives. Like, damn. Kind of lost my train there. But that kind of, sorry, go on.
Yeah, having these kind of conversations completely changed my life. It's like kind of what I want to jump in and say. Yeah. And that, as a recovering people pleaser, where I spent the vast majority of my time on this planet so far feeling like just constantly hyper aware of other people's potential feelings and minimizing my own truth and my own needs and living just life in a constant state of anxiety and pressure as a result, and taking up less space. I've been in a really big deconditioning process over the last few years, and I've learned to embrace the difficult conversation, and I'm surrounded by people who embrace that. I'm surrounded by lots of relationship coaches and people who are passionate about communication, and I relish it now. Like when someone comes to me and says, Anna, I want to raise something with you, or I want to let you know something you did that I feel great about, or this is something I would like. Can we work on that? It fills me with delight. It fills me with absolute delight to see people growing, and to see us all growing as a collective together, like to have the courage to treat ourselves and people around us, adults, and say, hey, this is what I need. I trust that you're not going to take it personally just because I need something, and to stand strong in that. And at first, to communicate a boundary or a need, I would get so tense, build up to it, and take time to do it. And eventually you learn to just hold it. And then you come with this kind of relaxed air about your boundaries and needs, and then other people feel more relaxed about it. And then you end up getting more of what you want, and then other people feel safer to share their truth with you. And this is how it to be a ripple effect.
I really agree with that. And I think what you said there about the kind of people pleasing side is really, because what you're doing when you're people pleasing is that you're trying to predict what the other person will think or feel. You're not actually finding out. You're trying to kind of firefight what they'll think or feel so that you don't upset them further or bring whatever it is that you're worried about getting on yourself, which means that when we are people pleasing, and I think I was taught very openly and deliberately that my role was to look after other people. It was, that's what I was celebrated for as a little girl, was making sure that, other people were okay. So no wonder I would be like that. I was told that was me being a good girl. But in doing that, it meant that I was actually weirdly permanently detached from other people. And what I like about a difficult conversation, what I enjoy about it is through having these disagreements and conversations and these differences that we actually connect. Like, you're permanently disconnected as a people pleaser because you're not ever really finding out what the other person thinks or feels. Whereas when you stop doing that, you get to be able to hear. And then what do you discover? You discover that somebody just isn't your people. They're not your type of person. They're like, yeah.
And if you're lucky, you enter into a completely different type of relationship with the same person, because you both grow together and create new terms for the relationship. And I feel so lucky to be at like this point now in my second half of my 30s, where I've got friendships in my life that have spanned from the era of codependence and conditioning we've picked up to now really evolving and like, you know, going through serious rupture and like friendships that had to go on pause for a bit, to being in a different chapter where we both know in the relationship that our needs matter. And it's been a real journey. I've had like several close female friendships go through really big rupture while these like two-way bonds of people pleasing have been broken. And I feel really lucky and also grateful for this kind of work that's out there with communication. I also really want to highlight that there's some skills that I've picked up from you specifically that have been an absolute game changer in communication and in terms of like setting boundaries in artful, smart ways that are strategic and help me get what I actually want, even with people who are quite tricky.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I think the art of the art of setting boundaries is an art form. I think being able to say to somebody, yeah, that's my boundary. What you need to do is go and walk down that side because I shan't be letting you walk in this side. Being able to set the boundary with a clear kind of direction, but not in a defensive way, just in a, that's my boundary, is a bit like saying to somebody who wants to deliver something, I can't come to the door right now, just leave it out there and I'll pop out and get it later. What you're doing when you're doing that is you're laying down a boundary, but you're not being defensive about it. Also, you're not interrupting what you're doing to open the door when you can't open the door and then getting all like irritable and upset because you did it. What you're doing is just stating, no, that solution isn't going to work for me. I can see that that's the solution that you're offering me, but for me, that's not going to be, it doesn't really fit my need at the moment. So can we look a bit further into it and get a better solution? I don't think I'm the right person to talk to you, but I can help you find, you know, there's all these different ways, aren't there, that we can assert a boundary in a constructive way, not in a destructive way. And that is, that's what I like doing. That's what I want to do more and more, is just work out how to help people set a boundary. And you know, sometimes it's really difficult. I mean, I have got clients who are trying to set boundaries with ex-partners and stuff like that, who really have to keep going back again and again and again and again. Sometimes like, you know, like 10 times. Like, you would think that you wouldn't need to keep setting a boundary, reminding somebody of a boundary that many times, would you? But the way I look at it is, if somebody spent years and years not respecting your boundary, it's a bit like if I let my dog on the couch. My dog thinks it can go on the couch. I'm not just going to be able to tell it once to get off. I'm going to have to reinforce that boundary maybe 100 times, you know.
Because it has the memory of going on the couch.
Exactly. And I'm the one, and I'm the one that let it have that belief that it could do it. So I have to then be responsible for, in a really calm but clear way, saying no. And I take this very much when I'm talking to parents about with their children. Like, we don't just tell a child once. Children who clean their teeth were told by their parents to go and clean their teeth probably every single day for a 10-year period before it becomes a habit, you know. And being able, you know, if you think about a line on a football pitch, yeah, people have to go and redo those lines every year or every 6 months. Because if you don't redo those lines, what happens? They fade and they disappear. And I don't think there's anything, just so there's nothing wrong with painting your front door every year. You know, if you want it to stay nice and fresh, there is nothing wrong with just calmly reasserting a boundary and refreshing the paint on that boundary.
Yeah.
You know,
the most shocking thing for me on my journey to learn how to set boundaries and protect my energy and protect my creativity has been realizing just how deep my self-sacrificing conditioning went.
Yeah.
You know, with the kind of you know, roles of like being there for other people and being empathic and caring about other people and wanting to help other people all the time, but not yet having the wisdom to do that from a place of, hey, I need to make sure that everything I'm doing is protected and ring-fenced and properly nurtured first, and then with the excess energy and time that I have, then I can be there for others and invest there. And it was really, really shocking to realize just how deep that conditioning went, and to understand, oh, this is, you know, this is how you move forward in life. You really you have to protect your garden first. You have to nourish your garden first. We all know that, right? You know, you're supposed to pour from a full cup and look after yourself, but actually practicing it when someone's going through a terrible time and they're asking for your help and you're a caring individual. It's like finding the line.
I think again, I think it's a skill. So I think we often don't just, it's a failure of teaching kids properly, actually, because if you say to a kid, you know, don't be selfish, you really need to think about other people first. You know, you often hear kids told that when they push in front of the line, and kids are natural pushers. They're opportunistic little beings. They are. So they'll push into the front, and then they get told that they need to think about other people. And so they get that message and it gets repeated, and it sounds like it's fine. Yeah, do think about other people. But some kids go away and go, oh, that means I'm not meant to think about myself. If ever I think about myself. And then they may get raised by a parent who didn't know how to look after themselves as well as other people. So it goes in and we get celebrated, especially as girls. So on a boat, and I was raised, you know, my early life was on a boat. One of the sayings that everybody who's a sailor will know is, on a boat, there should be one hand for the boat and one hand for you. And what that means is you always need to make sure that you're holding on to something when you do something, or that you're attached to the boat. Because on a boat, if you fall over the side of the boat, your chances of being rescued are slim. Okay, because boats move in the way that currents work, and you can't actually see people in the water very easily. So one of the things that you learn on a boat is one hand for you, one hand for the boat. And the times that you fall in are typically the times when you've decided to pick something up with two hands and not hold on to the boat, and you haven't made sure you're clipped on. And I think that that is a better lesson. I can help you, but if I haven't checked that I'm tethered, that I'm tied on, that I'm holding on somewhere, then when I go to help you, we're both going to fall. Okay? We're both going to fall. And if you really needed help in that moment and I hadn't properly tethered myself on, then you may well feel like I failed you, because we both fell when I offered to help. So I think it's not something I remembered until I was a little bit older, that we're meant to look after ourselves. But once I did, I don't believe any of us should deplete ourselves entirely for another person or another situation. There are moments when we have to, like when somebody's ill, or when there's something awful happening, but these moments should be short. They shouldn't be continuous. They shouldn't be lifelong. So there will be times we stay up all night when somebody's ailing and sad or miserable or distressed, but we can't do that forever. And that's kind of what I think about that. And we shouldn't stay in relationships that demand us to give everything, because that's not.
And when the actions are one-sided, I'm thinking about, like times when I would drop everything and just prioritize. Oh no, this is one of those moments, and I'm happy to do that today, and to make this first for this relationship, because it's worth it, and it's because I know they would do the same for me. And when you're in those reciprocal relationships, you feel safe to give in that way.
Well, you are. But you are, because also the other person in a reciprocal relationship, another person isn't saying, give me everything, I need everything. Another person is usually saying, actually, you do need to look after yourself as well. You know, please make sure you don't need to come every day and look after me. Make sure that in a proper reciprocal relationship, the person that you're helping is also very, very keen to make sure you're okay. In a negative relationship, the person that you're helping is saying, give me more, give me more, give me more. And it's like feeding somebody else. There are occasions when somebody else is really, really hungry because they haven't eaten for 24 hours. But generally speaking, they'll have some food and then they'll go, are you not eating? And they'll expect you to be eating too. And they'll start to feel really uncomfy if you're not eating yourself. So these are what we're talking about. This is what we are. It's why it's so useful talking to you, Anna, about these things, because you understand that really, really well.
It's changed my life engaging with these ideas more. And I'm in the business of helping people embody their purpose and create more. And I see, like, within myself, that it's been protecting my time and energy and stopping over giving in a million different directions that's enabled me to concentrate my life force more in writing and art and business, and just generally enjoying life more as well. So it really matters.
Which is so cool. So Anna, thank you so much for coming on today and making time for me, because I know you're doing so many things at the moment. If people want to get in touch with you or find out more about what you do, where's the best place for them to go?
The best place is LinkedIn or Instagram, and you'll find me if you type in Anna Herber. And I've just launched a free school community for aligned creator entrepreneurship. So come and check that out if you are a spiritual entrepreneur.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your time today, Anna. I really do appreciate it. And I will see you very soon, I hope.
So welcome. Congratulations. We'll see you at the pub very soon to celebrate.
Definitely. Take care, Anna. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Wow. So wasn't that fantastic? What an excellent and inspiring and motivating day it has been. It's just been a real privilege today to talk to just so many lovely, lovely people. And I have to say, while I've been talking, I'm just going to go and get them, because I've had some lovely deliveries that my daughter's been so kindly bringing in. I'm just going to go and show you some of them. So look at these lovely flowers. Aren't they so nice? I just want to say a really big thank you to Jill. They're so beautiful. I'm going to go and put them in some water and an abundance. And even more, I had no idea. Look at these lovely flowers. They're so pretty. My lovely favourite little daisies and peonies from Johnny. Thank you so much, Johnny. Thank you. That's so kind of you. And wow. And I have another package here, but I don't know who that's from as well. But I'm going to open it just on the off chance. It also might be something really lovely. But I do want to say today would not have been possible without such wonderful and kind and lovely, lovely humans. Oh, Brenda and the team, thank you so much. I can't get them out at the moment, but I will take a photo of them. But an absolutely beautiful, oh, a really, really lovely, I can't get them out, but the most beautiful flowers have arrived. I'm going to have to spend some time making sure they're all safely put away. Thank you ever so much to everybody who's done that. So I'm going to be rounding up fairly soon. I'm going to have a little break. I'm going to go for a bit of a walk with the dogs and have something to eat and put my beautiful flowers in water. Thank you so much, everybody, for that. And then I'm going to jump on again at about 5 o'clock, and I'm going to use the time the next couple of hours to catch up with everybody on social media and everybody on Facebook who's been so absolutely kind. I'm going to have a look at the book sales, and hopefully if anybody out there has bought a copy, please do email me your receipt or share your receipt on WhatsApp if you know me on WhatsApp. If you want to leave a review on Google or on Amazon, please do that. I'm going to be I've got some lovely prizes, and I will sit down and I've got a list, so I will share them so that you can know what those prizes are. But never fear, when I do the draw, I will share with everybody when they win their prize and what that prize is. I've got a beautiful, for example, Ellington fountain pen, which is the pen that I use when I'm writing. I love them. I think I may have to start collecting pens. A good pen is a lot of what I do when I'm working and a lot of what I do when I'm writing is I write longhand, because I'm a great believer in the physicality of writing. And for me, I think probably because I didn't go to school, I didn't do a lot of writing. So for me, actually having a really beautiful pen, they move really smoothly. And I write a lot in my journals. I write every morning, and I write down my thoughts and ideas. And then when I'm producing blog posts and things like that, I tend to write them out longhand when I get an idea. I have a lot of books around me. I have a lot of notebooks as well. And each notebook kind of has different bits of information in, which I then try and keep track of when I'm coming up with ideas and thoughts and so forth. So I've got that. My course, Navigating with the Heart, I shall be raffling off a prize, which will be a complete membership of that course, which is worth £444, to someone who leaves a review or a Google review or orders a copy of the book and sends me a receipt. So please do that. I've got some lovely coaching, visibility, power hour, business, all really good financial and business offers and support that people have really kindly donated, where you can get some real expertise in your business. I've got some signed copies of my book that I held back so that I could send to people who ordered a Kindle version, but who might like a signed version too. So I should be doing a little draw for those as well. And as I say, there's a big list, so I need to go through. But I will be back in touch with you really soon. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you as well for everyone who's been sharing. It means so much to me. People who've been sharing on YouTube, please do go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel. My aim over the next couple of months is I had a brilliant conversation with the excellent Amanda Wag about how to use YouTube better. And so I will be putting a lot more content on YouTube and making it a bit more of an educational resource regarding difficult conversations across the board, actually, with children, family members, work colleagues, difficult conversations, even difficult conversations like with older adults, powers of attorney, making a will, talking about health, talking about so many different aspects of society, how to have disagreements in a really healthy fashion. So my aim is I'm going to populate YouTube with more information and more free resources, make things more available. But I will pop back on at 5 o'clock and I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Becca. Thank you to Nicola. Thank you to Julie. Thank you so much to Suzanne Hayward. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, everybody who supported me today. Thank you to Sarah Brand and Stacey Keane, who've been supporting and working tirelessly in the background to make sure that everything is okay. Thank you to Olivia, the editor, and Zara, my proofreader, and for making sure things got uploaded really, really well. And I look forward to coming back on at 5 and talking to you some more. I'm going to have something to eat now. I'm going to walk the dogs. I'm going to have a big drink, actually, because I'm quite dehydrated. I can feel my voice. And I'm going to go and do some self-care, basically. And I'll talk to you all very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.